sitting in this beautiful botanical garden called Mission Oaks Garden in Zanesville, and it's free to visit. It's filled with all kinds of different species of spruce and pines and redwoods and all kinds of things. It's really beautiful here. I hope that each of you are also experiencing some beauty in your day today. I wanted to touch on the subject of emotions. I think for a lot of people it's been pretty suppressed for a long time. In regards to emotions, they are considered more feminine, and they aren't necessarily logical or rational. Like, of course we're gonna feel sadness or anger if something specific happens, but sometimes we can feel those things even if something didn't directly happen in that moment or things like that. So you can't necessarily just express like, oh, why are you feeling that way? What's wrong? What's happening? It's like, it doesn't make sense all the time. So, I'd like to encourage us all to start exploring our emotions a little more and giving them a little more space to present themselves in a healthy way. For us to acknowledge when we're happy or when we're sad or when we're angry, it can help us be more centered beings. Something I learned recently was about the shadow aspect of divine anger or rage, right? So the shadow version of that is resentment and bitterness. I think that rage can definitely be divine, and there are so many different myths and goddesses and gods that express that rage in different ways. But our society tells us we need to just be calm and figure out something else. But how can you look around you and not be angry with what has happened or what's happening right now? How did we just sit by for centuries at the abuse and oppression of our brothers and sisters? It doesn't make any sense to me. How have we just been allowing the abuse and the manipulation to happen? So I think it's important for us to recognize our emotions because they can be really helpful in any given moment and help us be stronger and set clearer boundaries in our life. If we recognize that something someone does makes us angry, well, then we can set a clearer boundary so that they can't keep affecting us in that way. We can take the reins. If you're exploring your emotions and you want to bring up different things to say your parents or your partners, you have to be strong and understand that they also might feel defensive and might react in a negative way, and they might even try to shut down your emotions or shut down your feelings. And gaslighting can definitely happen, and we have each probably gaslighted in different ways to different people. But one form of gaslighting is expressing that if you're trying to explain to someone how you're feeling or something they did that made you feel this certain way, and they go, oh, well, that didn't actually happen, that was really your fault, like you were really the one doing this. And that is a form of gaslighting, and that's shutting you down, that's dismissing your emotion. You're gonna have to stand up to that kind of thing and say, no, you don't get to dismiss that in me. I'm expressing how this made me feel. And yes, we do need to take responsibility for our own actions in a situation, for things that we did, but expressing our emotions isn't necessarily the time for that exactly, but it's just getting something out on the table. Because if you're able to express your sadness or your frustration in the moment that it's happening, then you can move on from that, and it's not going to keep affecting you, or it's not going to be pushed down and bottled and stored in your body in some other way that leads to illnesses and all kinds of things. So if we can just start trying to practice expressing our emotions, even when it's really uncomfortable. I have a lot of emotions that come up that I just want to hide away and I don't want to share, but and as adults, if we can share these things, then we can teach the children that it's okay for them to have emotions. It's okay for them to be sad. It's okay for them to get angry, because they will. We're human beings. This will happen. And you might not understand it logically. And our world focuses so much on having rationality and logic to everything, to all of our experiences. And we just don't give a place to the emotions. But those emotions are very powerful and very, very fruitful tools, in a way, to make changes, to make effects. Like, let us feel that anger and that rage that we have about oppression that Black and brown people are experiencing right now, and they're trying to stand up and express that anger. And what do you have? You have some people over here, some white people that have never experienced that kind of situation, going, oh, what you're feeling isn't really real, or that's not really happening, or, oh, it's your fault that that's happening. That's fucking gaslighting. So, we need to make room for people's emotions so that we can be healthier beings. And if we do this, and we do this practice, and we share these things, and we make attempts with our children, we say, hey, I'm feeling really frustrated, I'm feeling really sad right now, or I'm really sad that, I have to leave you to go to work or something. You can just be that example for them and let them express their own emotions in a healthy way. Don't shut them down when they're trying to express their emotions just because it doesn't make sense to you. If they come to you crying because something happened, or they fell, or they had a nightmare, or, they're having growing pains that maybe they can't verbalize, and if you hold them and you say, oh, get over it, suck it up, you're fine, that's shutting down their emotions. And that's going to teach them that that's what they're supposed to do in those situations. And I think that can be really negative, for sure. And I think that a lot of us, and my grandparents raised me for most of the time, so, I was raised by one generation before, but the generation of my parents and everything, and my grandparents, is that was really done a lot, the suppression of the emotions. And in my own life, anytime I was really depressed as a teenager, so if I were to come up and cry or be sad, or something in a show or movie were to trigger me, but if I would cry, then I would just be sent to my room. Or even if I was very happy and very excited, it was too much. It was just too much to be around, and so I would be shut down and sent to my room, or sent away from the dinner table, or whatever it might be. And that just really, really set the stage for how I was to be sharing my emotions and expressing myself as I got older. And at different points in our life, at different ages, we're going to be processing things differently. In our early 20s or our late teenage years, we'll probably have a lot of resentment for the things that happened to us as a child or a teenager. It's like, oh, you weren't good to us, our parents did this or did that, or didn't let us do this, and we carry a lot of resentment for that, and I think that if we can express those emotions in a healthy way, then we can move through it, move with it a lot quicker. And then as we get a bit older, usually, you start to realize that certain things happened and you can't necessarily go back, but what can you do now to prevent other people from feeling that pain, from feeling that situation, and what kind of relationship can you have now with your partner or your parents that did these things that had frustrated you, accepting that they are humans themselves and they make mistakes, not putting them on a pedestal any longer, and just allowing and hopefully at certain points forgiving the things that happened to you. And you can still be sad and mad, but maybe you'll experience it differently as you get older. I have a lot of rage for the time that I was molested when I was 3, and I've been going through EMDR therapy to try to reprocess it. And something that I felt during that experience was that I am not safe, and that was true. I wasn't safe in that moment, you know. And even if maybe I had recognized it energetically when I was a child, I didn't really have a choice to express that emotion. I didn't have a choice because this was my babysitter. I was supposed to do what they told me to do. And I have a lot of rage, and I want to hold them accountable. I want to hold other people accountable for those actions. I don't want to just forget it and let it go. I also don't want to let it eat me alive and dictate everything that I'm feeling or experiencing, or my ability to connect with other people and have relationships with other people. I want to use that as fuel to inspire me to advocate for others and to teach and share with children that they can have emotions, that they can express themselves, that they can trust themselves. Children are very sensitive to the energetics around them. Very, very sensitive. And I think that if we could slow down and listen to them and trust them, that we could avoid a lot of different experiences. And it's particularly hard when it's the parents being an abuser or neglecting in some way, because that's the child's first examples of loyalty and trust. And so that affects, how you create your own defensiveness and protection in the future, because that negative experience became normal and natural for you and healthy. This is something that different people experience who are in abusive relationships, right? So that abuse became their normal and what appeared to them to be healthy and natural, and so that's what's familiar to them, and that's one reason why some people can end up in those situations and keep experiencing, because if you don't have another example, then what do you have to go off of? What else is different? No one else would be any different, or no other experience would be any different. And it's really important for us to do this work. Emotions are hard to process. Emotions can be really uncomfortable, but it's work that we need to do, that we need to be willing to do, so that we can stop these things from happening again in the future, so that we can stop the oppression and the murdering and the abuse of our brothers and sisters, of our black and brown brothers and sisters, of our children, of the elderly. We need to recognize how we're feeling and learn to express them in emotionally intelligent ways and in healthy ways, get them out if we need to, write about them, draw them in art, write and play music, speak to the person that you're feeling these emotions about, even if it's really uncomfortable, even if it's really hard, even if you have this devastating fear that they're going to cut you out of their life forever and you don't really want that to happen. It will make you feel better, even if it's terrifying and you don't really think it will. the more that we learn to express our emotions, the more that we can be in balance with our masculine, rational, logical side, because both expressions are divine and both can be balanced so that we're healthier beings. We don't need to leave out one or the other. The same with science and spirituality. So thank you again for listening to me, since I have decided to start sharing videos, which are a form of me expressing my emotions because I feel really passionate about what I'm sharing. Since I have opened that door, my emotions and inspiration to make these have just been kind of flooding through, and I'm trying to allow that and keep moving with it while it's here. So I hope that y'all enjoy a very beautiful and magical day. I love y'all.